everybody. Welcome to CBC Vancouver's Musical Nooners. Really exciting day for us here. It's actually quite a big day. Three amazing musicians joining us on stage. Our two big names. Anybody know? Yes, Mr. David Francey. Yeah. Mary Gaurhier. Really quite an honor to have them join us for our Musical Nooners, our little show with two very big names on stage. All right, these lovely folks come to us as a result of a partnership with the Mission Folk Music Festival. So really excited to have them here. Yes, Mission Folk, a little shout out for them. Fraser River Park this weekend. They'll be performing and they're doing a little preview set for us. For those of you who don't know, David is a Juno Award-winning singer-songwriter. He's been doing this for a number of years. 12 short years. But basically, as soon as he decided to release an album, it kind of just hit the roof, and he's just been doing his thing, making money, making music, living the dream, and being a nooner, having everybody enjoy it, of course. And Mary comes to us all the way from Nashville, and really excited to have her. It's her first time. David's second time here for Nooners. Mary's first. But Mary's music has been recognized by, I think she's been covered by Jimmy Buffett, by Blake Shelton. She's been given props by Bob Dylan. So, I mean, it really just an honor to have them both join us here today. Will you please give them a warm welcome, David Francey, Mary Gaurhier.
Well, hello folks, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming out. Hope your sandwiches are good, absolutely. I remember from the Nooner last year, everybody was just munching sandwiches and looking happy. That's what I remember. Delighted to be here for CBC, of course, and great to be with my friend Mary Gaurhier. We don't see each other that often, and she's so outstanding. It's just great to be on the stage with her. So, this on my left-hand side, your right-hand side, playing the guitar is Mr. Mark Westberg from Toronto. So Mark Westberg and myself, and collectively we're known as David Francey, actually. So anyway, we're delighted to be here, and I've got some students here. We're at the Severe Sisters Music Camp, which is an outstanding thing to do, and kids are outstanding. And I've been there all week. Mark and I have been teaching there. And one thing it does give you, man, is a little hope for the future. These are the nicest kids you'd ever want to meet, and they're talented and driven and lovely. So I thank them very much for coming. We'll just start off with this song. It's about the first job I ever had. The first job I ever had was a paper boy in the village of Kilmores, Ayrshire, Scotland, where I was born. I delivered the Daily Record, for those of you who don't know, a screaming tabloid paper. And I delivered it every morning, and I read it cover to cover before I went to school. So I was at my grandmother's house reading this paper cover to cover, and every single morning at 10 years old, I read about mass murder and assassination and the fall of the empire. Every single morning, steady diet. So I'd be shoving in the porridge or cornflakes, whatever it was, and thinking to myself, I'll never see 12, I'll never see 12. I've seen 12 in multiples often. That's frightening now, to tell you the truth. But the song's called Paperboy. If you know a little bit of the chorus, let her rip, it'll be fun. Right. Down to the angel shop I'd go and shoulder my bag on the Irvine Road. Past the council houses, row on row. When I was a paper boy, with the Daily Record and the People's Friend, I go down to the sunny side again, under the bridge where the railway bends. When I was a paper boy. In the morning light, racing the dawn as the sky grew bright. Oh, and everything in the world was bright when I was a paper boy. I'd walk in the morning in the empty streets with a ring to the sound of my own 2 feet, and I'd walk in step to my own heartbeat when I was a paper boy. speck in Malcolm X when I was a baby boy. And there's a crow in a treetop way up high, hung as a warning and left to die. And the morning wind and the morning sky, but I was a baby boy.
I feel the same way about you.
I'm your favorite girl singer in the world?
Songwriter.
Okay, alright. Oh, well, thanks, baby.
You know, an interesting thing about songwriter, it's one of the few words that doesn't seem to have a gender.
That's true.
Isn't that a great word?
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah,
Any
yeah,
word like that
yeah.
would be a good word.
So, one of my favorite songwriters in the world, David Francey. So here's a song with some hillbilly wisdom in it. I've been in Nashville, Tennessee now since 2001. I'm starting to think like a hillbilly, which isn't altogether a bad thing or a good thing. It's just simple logic. The idea behind this one is that if somebody broke your heart, left you standing there at the station, and took off, if you stay at the station, there'll likely be another train. So just stay put. Help is on the way. Got me an apartment up on the east side, 1411 13th Street. I walk on the tracks by the Cumberland River, over the bridge, past the lovers. Sunset, I can see my breath disappear in the cold winter night. The bums are gathering driftwood down by the river. Whistle blows a lonesome cry.
you know, when I get to a new town and we're going to be playing that night, the first thing you do is check into the hotel. And then you also, I watch the news before I go to the gig. I always do. And then after the gig, I'll come back to the hotel with something to eat, and I'll sit down and watch the late news. And then after that, when the late news is over, I'll sometimes watch CNN just for something to do, you know. And it's not so bad. And then the odd time I'll watch Fox News, you know. I watch, oh I know, I got booed in Michigan just for mentioning it actually. But anyway, I watch Fox News because you really should, you know, it's basically, Fox News is really helpful when you want to know what's not really happening in the world, you know. So anyway, it was dreadful. I was down in Ohio and they just turned news into entertainment. I think they should be kind of separated, to tell you the truth. And everybody that got up that night, any woman that got up to that night on Fox TV to actually report on all these little miserable tragedies of the day, they all looked like ex-Miss Ohios, every single one of them, to tell you the truth. They're beautiful. And they all had perfect blonde hair in various styles, but very well done indeed. And lovely features, all of them, and great teeth. Oh man, fantastic teeth. And you knew they had great teeth because they smiled through the news. They were telling you all this awful stuff with this little smirky grin in their face. And I'm looking at them and thinking, man, I don't want my news from somebody like that. I want my news from a bald, worried-looking man. That's what I want, you know. At any rate, I thought of them very ungraciously. I thought of them as jackals that night. But, you know, 20 minutes later, I'm still watching them. And I'm thinking to myself, well, David, they might be jackals. They're awfully pretty jackals. So I wrote this song for them called Pretty Jackals. And the pretty jackals spill the blood, revel in the fire and flood, drag us face down through the mud, tragedy as show. Grin the words that might be true, grim the unrelenting view, balance gone and the world askew, staggered by the blows. And he loved the poor and he healed the lame, and they crucified him on the scene, washed their hands of all the blame, and got set to cast the stone. Bright and sharp delivery, smile through all the misery, whose eyes are black as black can be, and short repeated shocks. Washed their hands of all the blame, and got set to cast the stone. TV in the hotel room, blue light in the borrowed gloom, entertained and ensconced in tune with a pretty face that talks. And the pretty jackals smell the blood, revel in the fire and flood, drag us face down through the mud, tragedy as show.
Decided society was too much. Tragedy as show, too painful. He decided to walk away from it all and be a hobo by choice. Unplug it and wander. But he became famous nonetheless. Elected king of the hobos. More times than any other man. His name was Steam Train Maury. This is his story. Steam Train Maury died last night. His wife Wanda by his side. He caught the westbound out of here, hopped the high irons to the by and by. They say he jumped 1,000 trains, rode 1,000,000 miles for free, helped out at VA hospital and penitentiaries. Dandy Dave and Rusty Nails and Sweet Lady Sugar Cane, Dead-Eye Kate and the Baloney Kid raise their cups tonight in old steam train's name. Senators and congressmen, puppets on the string. Among windswept vagabonds, steam train was the king. He was the last. Of the hobo kings. He was the last of the hobo kings. Wander around. Tramps dream and wander too. But a hobo was a pioneer who preferred to work for food. He knew how a nation was doing by the length of a sidewalk cigarette butt. Born with an aching wanderlust embedded in his gut. Beaten, laughed at, broke, chased out of every town with his walking stick scepter, with his shredded coffee can crown the last of the hobo kings. He was the last of the hobo kings. He bought from them helped him write the grapes of wrath. But boxcars have been sealed for years, and trespassers do time. Railroad yards are razor wire. Now hoboing's a crime. Here's to ya, steam train, boy. Hold that westbound tight as you ride off into history. The last hobo, the last ride, the last of the hobo kings. He was the last of the hobo kings.
us at CBC Vancouver's Musical Dinners. Do you feel like you've been transported maybe to somewhere off in the forest here, in the BC kind of backcountry there, a little campfire, yeah? Almost like that, except it's 12 p.m. in downtown core of Vancouver. And the guy's about to go and shred some confidential papers back there. I know, it's definitely an experience, and we're really, really glad to have David and Mary and Mark join us here for that today, I think. So, and really happy to have all of you here. Did you guys know that David and Mary were performing today? Is that what brought you here? Yeah. Amazing musicians, amazing singer-songwriters, really glad to have them here. I just wanted to take a quick second and welcome everybody to CBC Vancouver's Musical Dinners. If it is your first time here, don't make it your last. We do these concerts every weekday until August 23rd, 12 to 1 p.m. So come back, bring your lunch, your sandwiches, whatever you like, and come and join us. Okay, I'm just gonna shoot these guys a couple of quick questions because I have a undying curiosity. Oh, by the way, my name is Leanne Young. I work on the weekend weather here at CBC News Vancouver. Thank you. I've been told I'm pretty, but I hope I'm not a jackal. And I try not to smile through all of my weathercasts.
Nothing personal. No, I wasn't talking about you at all.
But I also do like to get my news from a worried bald man, too. Sometimes it could be Peter, sometimes it could be Tony, but Tony does still have his hair, so.
Yeah.
All right, first question goes to you, David. David, you're known as one of the best singer-songwriters in Canada. You've done all sorts of jobs, and it's really kind of shaped your experience, I guess. So what is the songwriting process for you now? What is that like?
Well, I worked construction for 20 years, and I was going to get a job as a shredder, but I decided not to. But anyway, I worked in construction for 20 years now, and I wrote a lot about the boys I worked with, and I was a very happy construction worker. When I got into music, I didn't care if it went or it didn't, because I was quite happy where I was. And now I write about the road and such things, and people I meet on the road, so it just keeps rolling along, you know.
Do the lyrics come easy to you?
Yeah, they do, very actually, for the most part. Yeah.
It really feels like you're a poet above and beyond anything else.
Well, I have the income of a poet, I can tell you that.
Oh, come on, you've survived for 12 years making music. You're doing
That's
well.
true, yeah, I think I can do it.
And Mary, you're also an award-winning singer-songwriter, and your songs have been praised by Bob Dylan, Tom Waits. How did you become such a great storyteller? Do you consider yourself a storyteller? Yes. Yes. I'm going to interpret that as a yes.
I think honestly these things are mysterious. You can't really answer that. I don't know how. I just know that every now and then I look and I get songs being written, and I'm amazed that it came through this guitar and this voice.
Well, it's incredible to have you guys here today. And the two of you, so Mary, you come to us all the way from Nashville, and David, you're Scottish born, but you're Canadian. How did you guys get together? How did you end up playing together?
Well, I was at a festival we were both playing together, and it was a workshop stage, and unfortunately for me, I'd never heard of Mary before. But I will tell you this, the minute she opened her mouth, I was an immediate fan, and that's not pandering at all, that's the truth. And we don't see each other much, but we do keep in touch with the odd email, and we always look forward to seeing each other at shows, you know. So.
Well, it's great to have you both here today, and you can see them both perform at the Mission Folk Music Festival this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the music, David Francey and Mary Gaurhier.
Well, speaking of the lucrative world of folk music, this song reflects it pretty good, I think. And if Mary's Hobo King ever stayed in a motel, I've probably been in it, to tell you the truth. I try and get a room to myself because I'm old enough now I don't want to share a room with anybody. And so consequently I put the boys and myself into these really awful hotels. I know they are, but they're cheap. And the boys don't really mind too much. And if there was, in Motel 6 is kind of the bottom of the food chain on the hotel stuff. And these are Motel 2.5. They're way down the list. But one of the worst I ever stayed at, I was on tour with Dave Clark very, very early on. And at that point we were still sharing motel rooms. And we went to this place outside of Los Angeles or somewhere in that great mass that is Los Angeles. And it was the coast of something, coast of nothing, to tell you the truth. It was horrid. But we're there for 2 days, and our room was in behind the stairs and the Coke machine, and the Coke machine didn't work, and nothing worked in that hotel, nothing. The air conditioning didn't, it was boiling hot. And And we got to sleep that night, and we opened the back window. We thought maybe that would be good. And then this 30-foot tractor trailer pulled up and idled outside the window the entire night. And so nothing was going very well, and I heard this bone-racking sigh from the other bed, just before I nodded off to sleep. Just one of those, oh. I said, oh, Dave, are you okay, man? And he says, oh yeah, he says, I'm fine. He says, I'm just thinking about what fresh hell awaits us tomorrow. So anyway, I wrote about that little hotel. Everything that was in the song was right there, and it's really grotty, and I don't remember the name of it, but made for a fun song nonetheless. So this is called Cheap Motel. Unseen in the cheap motel. That's concrete walls, concrete walks, concrete halls and concrete blocks in the cheap motel. Girl at the desk, she's learning guitar, watching the faces, counting the cars in the cheap motel. Works by herself, likes it alone, eyes looking through your heart of a stone in the cheap motel. That highway moves, all the lonely hearts on the highway home. The ice machine, she's broken down, and we're stuck out here on the edge of town in the cheap motel. It's checkout time and they're on their way, and we're still here for another day in the cheap motel. In Hollywood, not the cheap motel. All windows barred and the doors are locked. Time stands still on a broken clock in a cheap motel.
He'd get home at 5:30, fix his drink and sit down in his chair. Pick a fight with Mama, complain about us kids getting in his hair. At night he'd sit alone and smoke. I'd see his frown behind his lighter's flame. Now that same frown's in my mirror. I've got my daddy's blood inside my veins. Fish swim, birds fly, daddy's yell, mama's cry. Old men sit and think. On the side, ain't so bad along here. It don't bother me. Every night
sometimes it's from the happy end, sometimes from the sad end. And I've got a new one now. It's Unrequited Love. That's a hard one, absolutely hard one. And this is a song, a small song I wrote about that. And it's called A Star Above.
Shine more brightly than the rest. And if you wear a song of love, you'd be the tune I love the best. A melody to break the heart, and words that ring forever true. Speak of love and all its joys. And that's the song I'd sing for you. And if you wear a garden flower, you'd be the rose, the only one. And even in my darkest hour, you'd be the welcome morning sun. If I could only pick that flower and hold its beauty close to me, if only for one fleeting hour, I'd dream of what can never be. And if you wear the silver sea, I'd sail into your very heart, and I would slip beneath the waves, knowing we would never part. And I would drown inside of you and gladly draw my final breath, wait for all eternity, and count myself among the blessed, and wait for all eternity, and count myself among the blessed.
Gosh, it's about a perfect day, isn't it? I don't have songs for this kind of weather. I'm from New Orleans, and after that big hurricane came through, I had to write a song for the folks down there. And I remember after Katrina, the media was saying stuff like this was a 100-year storm. 100-year storm. And I've been in Nashville now since 2001. About 3 years ago, we got hit with a major, massive flood. 10,000 or so houses were lost. Thousands of irreplaceable instruments destroyed. And the media was saying things like, this is a 100-year storm. I've been traveling around Canada for the last 3 weeks and spent a bunch of time in southern Alberta there. Black Diamond, High River. Saw some pretty familiar sights in terms of devastation. And wouldn't you know it, 100-year storm.
No kidding. How about that?
3 of them.
Maybe it's you, Mary. I'm starting to get worried.
I'm not a journalist, but I think they might want to start rephrasing their descriptions
Good idea.
of these 100-year storms.
Like 5-year storms.
I don't think it's going to hold up in court, you know what I mean? This is a song for the good folks of High River. street. This is not my house. That is not my bed. This is not my town. Another day, another night. Another night, another day. I wanna go home. I can't find the way. The levee broke, the water came, rose all the way up to my roof. Crawled up there and cried. What else could I do? Another day, another night. Another night, another day. Wanna go home. I can't find the way. A boat took me to I-10. I sat there 3 days, maybe 4. Thousands stranded on the interstate. And every hour boats brought more. Another day, another night. Another night, another day. I wanna go home. I can't find the way. Nothing but our dreams, memories of who we've been, scattered forth like seed at the mercy of the wind. Another day, another night. Another night, another day. Wanna go home. I can't find the way.
I was sitting looking at my mother. My mother's 92, you know, and still fired away. And I was looking at her one time. She was just sitting there looking out her window, you know. And here's this little tiny wee woman, you know, peering out her window, very, very active. And I thought to myself, man, the things her eyes have seen over the course of her lifetime. I mean, she was literally born just before the Great Depression, lived through the Great Depression, the Second World War, the Cold War, the space race, the whole bit, you know. And I'm thinking, man, not one more generation's ever going to see changes like that. I hope, anyway. And I was really kind of stunning. So I started this song about her, you know, and I kind of petered out, I have to say. Then I started thinking about the internet, you know, and how it's a great tool, fantastic tool. You know, you can look up Mary, you can look up me, you can do anything you like, right? But you can also have a platform for hatred. It's a huge platform for hatred. Not that you have to go to those sites, but they're there, and there's no way we're getting rid of them. So in a way, it's sort of like the downside of that is we've opened Pandora's box. It's not going to go back in there. So I think it behooves us very much to keep an eye on the thing and try not to get those people get the upper hand, because there's no room for that really. So at any rate, I wrote this song along that line, and it's happened to be called Pandora's Box. Appropriate.
What's it like behind those eyes? I watch the weary world go by unnoticed, unrecognized, unbowed, uncowed, unbroken. Pandora's box wide open, hasp and hinges broken. Pandora's box wide open. The braying of the herd and the steady fraying of the nerves, dead of a million words better left unspoken. Pandora's box wide open, hasp and hinges broken. Pandora's box wide open. Discontent, quiet voice raised in dissent, wheels of justice badly bent and all but broken. Pandora's box wide open, hasp and hinges broken. Pandora's box wide open. I see, I can't deny the evidence. My own eyes, man exalted, man despised, man all bent and broken. Pandora's box wide open, hasp and hinges broken. Pandora's box wide open.
Beautiful. Well, even though we're in a wide open space in a major city, it feels kind of intimate here in the psalm kind of way. Thank y'all for spending the afternoon with us. I think we have enough time for one more song each, so I'm gonna play my big hit now.
Hey, I'm waiting for mine.
You play yours next, right?
If I had one, that would.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point. I'm not sure we're hit writers, but I do know we're heart writers. So.
Okay.
My friend Marty Stewart in Nashville always says, "Kid, you got a choice. You got the hearts and you got the charts." At a certain age, the the charts don't make sense anymore. And if the heart doesn't make sense simultaneously, you have what we call a problem with alcohol. This one's called Mercy Now. I want to thank y'all for listening, and both David and I do have CDs over there, and we'd love to see you at the table when we're done. My father, he sure could use a little mercy now. The fruits of his labor fall right so on the ground. His work is almost over. It won't be long, he won't be around. I love my father. He could use some mercy now. And my brother, he could use a little mercy now. He's a stranger to freedom, shackled to fear and doubt. The pain that he lives in, it's almost more than living will allow. And I love my brother. He could use some mercy now. My church and my country, they could use a little mercy now. Only the hand of grace can end the race. 'Twas another mushroom cloud. People in power, they'll do anything to keep their crown. I love life, life itself could use some mercy. Every living thing could use a little mercy now. Only the hand of grace can end the race. 'Twas another mushroom cloud. Yeah, we all could use a little mercy now. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow. We hang in the balance, we dangle between hell and hallowed ground. Every single one of us could use some mercy now. single one of us could use some mercy.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Great time sharing the stage with Mary Gaurhier for sure. And Mr. Mark Westberg on the guitar. And I'd like to thank CBC for setting all this up. They're just wonderful folks to work for. They truly are. And let's make sure the carting clowns don't do anything to this outfit, because we need them really badly. And, just let's make sure that well, this is requested. I just wandered around before the show, and I wasn't going to do this song, but I got asked for it a few times. So we'll do this one for you. It's a little a cappella. Let's take 1 minute and 38 seconds of your time. But thanks again for coming out, folks. I've had a really good time, and I hope you did as well. So the song is called Orange Screen Door. A late summer day and my love and I went walking. Over hills and fields we walked, laughing and talking. Came across an old farmhouse standing broken and bare. It used to be someone's home, now no one lives there. And there's a red barn standing held together with nails and dust. And a tired old Massey harness, all wires and rust. Weeds overgrown in the garden sown with care. It used to be someone's home, now no one lives there. And through the crack in the window pane, hear the sound of the falling rain. Another farm being left run down, another family moved into town. Had a life that they tried to save, but the banks took it all away. Hung a sign on a torn screen door, nobody lives here no more. They want the fingers to the bone, nothing left they could call their own. Packed it in under leaden skies, just the weed waving them goodbye. Had a life that they tried to save, but the banks took it all away. Hung a sign on a torn screen door, nobody lives here no more. Had a life that they tried to save, but the banks took it all away. Hung a sign on a torn screen door, nobody lives here no